fear of being buried alive? Do you low-key have an aversion to open caskets because you think they might just like come back any second? Well then, this is the list for you. Today's list features all the weird and miraculous ways people have come back to life, from rock legends to a guy who just wanted to get back to the pub. I think we all get that now. My name is Raechel Fisher, and today we are reviewing our top 10 list of real resurrection stories that will make you question reality. Number 10. Rasputin. Good old Rasputin, the Russian Tsarina's favorite. This guy was so dedicated to his job that he wasn't going to let murder stop him, not even 7 times. On June 29th, 1914, a prostitute named Guseva gutted him in the belly until she was satisfied, and once she'd done the deed, she stepped back and proclaimed, "I have killed the Antichrist." She was indeed wrong, because he came back. But there ain't no rest for the wicked, and on December 16, 1916, Rasputin's enemies tried to kill him once again, and this time they laced the cake that he was about to eat with enough cyanide to kill 5 grown men. But Rasputin was fine. He was just like, nom nom nom, this is delicious, what did you add, nutmeg? I don't know. He had no reaction whatsoever. Frustrated, a man named Yusupov shot him several times and left him for dead. He returned later to fetch the body, but instead, a bloody and angry Rasputin threw himself at him. As Rasputin was chasing him, another noble shot him, and this time he died? We don't know. To make sure, they threw him into the river. After his body was recovered, an autopsy revealed he had water in his lungs, meaning the man was still alive before he drowned. But after burying him for a time, they dug him up to burn his body, I don't know why, and while he burned, he appeared to sit up in the flames. This was most likely due to the fact that they didn't cut his tendons, but it still looked like he had resurrected. But at that point, why bother? People wanted him dead, just stay dead, dude. Anyways, number 9. I think everyone who has ever been to a funeral wished that the person in the casket wasn't really gone, but that they'd wake up and everything would be okay, it was all just a dream. But imagine if that really happened though. Because it has. Thankfully, in the case of Mr. Walter Williams though, it didn't happen in the middle of a funeral. On February 26, 2014, 78-year-old Mr. Williams was declared dead by the Holmes County coroner. After sensing no pulse, Williams was transported to the Porter & Sons funeral home to begin the embalming process. But imagine the horror of suddenly seeing the body bag kicking and rolling around. Turns out, he was still alive and literally kicking, and the coroner was stunned. The story goes that a previously placed defibrillator jump-started Mr. Williams' heart back up again, though it was a delayed reaction, very delayed. Though it took its sweet time doing it. Mr. Williams had 2 more beautiful weeks of living with his family before the real thing came, and this time, the coroner double checked. Number 8. Imagine waking up at your own funeral, right? Now this is the actual story. Well, that's exactly what happened to 49-year-old Mukhametzyanov. This story makes me conflicted about open caskets because in this case, I mean thank goodness, but otherwise I find them so terrifying, to be fair. It's just like not them anymore, you know? That's me. In Kazan, Russia in 2011, mourners passed by her body giving her respect and weeping until suddenly Mukhametzyanov woke up screaming, you know, as you would, as she realized where she was. The family was absolutely astonished and immediately they rushed her to a hospital, but she only lived for 12 minutes after having another heart attack in response to the shock of attending her own funeral. Her husband was pissed that they had misdiagnosed her in the first place after her first heart attack, which I would be too, but apparently declaring someone dead is a complicated business, as sometimes the body can devolve to a state of hibernation, making doctors think they are dead. I'm just glad she wasn't embalmed, because that would have been terrified to see someone wake up from that, you know? After all, it would pretty much mean that they're a zombie, so ew. Number 7. Janina Kolkiewicz. One of the more peaceful ways to go is in your sleep, which is exactly what happened to 91-year-old Janina Kolkiewicz. That is, until she woke up in a mortuary cold storage 11 hours later. In 2014, when the doctor came to her house to check on her, the doctor reported no vital signs whatsoever. No pulse, no respiratory activity, checked her pupils, even her carotid artery. There were absolutely no signs of life, so you can't say the doctor wasn't thorough. They took her to a funeral home, wrote her death certificate, and the family prepared for burial. But then, they got the call that no one ever expected at midnight that very same day. Apparently though, Janina needed little recovery time after that experience, just a bowl of soup and a couple of pancakes to bring the pep back in her step. So note to self, if you work in a mortuary, keep those 2 very specific items on hand. Number 6. Dying to get back to the pub. Especially after this year, I've learned to appreciate restaurants more and more, and I bet I'm not the only one dying to head to a pub to hang with friends, because that would be really nice. Like when I watch TV shows, I like see them drinking rum and cokes, I'm like, that looks great. So fun. Anyways, in 2016, a Polish man named Kamil took that phrase a little too literally. After a heavy night of drinking some potato juice, 25-year-old Kamil woke up in a place he never expected to land. Unbeknownst to him, he drank so much that he suffered cardiac arrest while leaving a pub in Poland and was declared dead. So imagine the pure and utter shock when Kamil woke up in a morgue. Imagine the guy on duty hearing a tapping on the cool boxes and just going on like, why does this keep happening? Apparently though, Kamil warmed up, recovered, got dressed, and then he went straight back to the pub. I don't know, everyone knows that guy, right? Great. Number 5, Thomas A. Kempis. For those who don't know, Thomas A. Kempis was a Catholic monk famous for writing The Imitation of Christ. Everyone loved it. They were like, man, this book is so pious, I love it. This guy's awesome, but sadly, in 1471, Kempis died in his vault and was soon put to rest. I bet you can guess what happens next. After he died, the church considered making Kempis an actual saint because of his work in life, so they exhumed the body to start the process and were disturbed to find wood chips beneath his fingernails and scratches on the underside of the coffin. Apparently, they took just a little bit too long making their decision because Kempis had come back to life while in the coffin. Even though Kempis' death resembles that of Christ, the church decided not to make him a saint. Why would they make someone a saint if they're so afraid of meeting their maker? I don't know, man. Maybe they were more scared of dying in a box and didn't know what was going on. I don't know. It's not like there was a light in the box he could turn on and a sign that read, hey man, if you read this, then we thought you were dead, so be dead. He's sane enough for not coming back as a ghost to whoop the doctor who gave him the diagnosis. Anyways. Number 4, the resurrection of Anne Green. This is one of the stories that really stands out for me, for it does seem pretty hard to come back from this. In 1650, Anne Green was a woman convicted of taking the life of her bastard child, hiding it at her boss's house. She was condemned to hang by the noose until dead, and while she stood on the gallows, her last words were, "Sweet Jesus, receive my soul." Then the hangman kicked the stool, and there she hung for half an hour. Her friends even tried to ease her suffering by lifting her up and down again with sudden jerks so they could make sure that she wasn't just paralyzed but actually dead, which happened. She was then taken down to be put in a coffin, but just as the doctor was about to dissect her, her body groaned hallelujah. Now there are 2 accounts of what happened next. One says that they immediately tried to revive her with cordial and bled her. The other is that the doctor tried to kick her back to death, but the force of the kick restarted her heart. Either way, Anne Green lived, and due to the ordeal she went through, she was granted a reprieve and went on to have 3 children after that. Anne of Green Gables? More like Anne of Green Gallows. Number 3, Nikki Sixx. Motley Crue bassist Nikki Sixx thankfully got sober in 2001 after learning his lesson the hard way. The musician had a heavy addiction to hard drugs and he didn't get out before it killed him. Sixx recounts a night at the Hollywood Franklin Plaza apartments when his dealer gave him a fatal dose of heroin. Though he remembers very little from the experience, he does remember a gentle feeling of something pulling him upwards and recalls staring down at his lifeless body. For 2 minutes in 1987 he was pronounced dead. Rumors circulated that they had given him 2 shots of adrenaline to revive him, but friend Steven Adler says that wasn't the case. Adler dragged him to the bathroom with a broken arm and started slapping him in the face with his cast to try and revive him. Apparently no one told him that the head isn't where the heart is anyways. Thankfully, paramedics arrived and revived Nixx with CPR. But his song Kickstart My Heart is about the experience, and Sixx has never forgotten the eerie out-of-body experience he had. Number 2, Ozzy Osbourne. Sharon, I'm so confused. We all know and love Ozzy Osbourne, and it's almost not surprising that he's on this list, but guys, we almost lost him. If it wasn't for a security guard being there to revive him, Ozzy would have been long gone. Back in 2003, Ozzy wasn't riding a crazy train but an ATV around his British country estate. The bike hit something and the next thing they knew, the ATV flipped and landed on top of the music legend. For a few minutes, Ozzy was dead, and after being revived by a security guard on site, remained in a coma for several days. He had 6 broken ribs, a fractured collarbone, and a broken vertebra in his neck, so he literally broke his neck. He eventually made a full recovery, but Ozzy reports that he doesn't remember much and was disappointed he didn't see any angels. Number 1, Al Jourgenson. Next up we have the man who has been resurrected not once, not twice, but 3 separate times. Like Nikki Sixx, Al Jourgenson had a severe addiction problem amounting to a $500 a day habit. Whoa. Jourgenson told Loudwire magazine back in 2013 that he has legally been declared dead 3 times. John Viterhorn, who penned his biography, got all of the actual hospital reports that proved it actually happened. He remembers them all differently, saying, and I quote, "One of them I truly recognize as a life-changing kind of spiritual thing where you know there's an afterlife. The other 2 I think I was just too f***ed up." You think that after all those near-death experiences, Al wouldn't touch the stuff again, but it was actually a spider that made him realize he needed to quit the dragon. While lying on his couch, hugging the only guitar he hadn't pawned, Al got bitten by a spider, which led to an infection and a doctor declaring that his arm needed to be removed. At that moment, a light bulb went off and he decided to get clean. That's nuts, right? And that is our top 10 list of real resurrection stories that will make you question reality. Did you question reality? Let us know in the comments. Also, know of anyone who's had a near-death experience? I feel like that's pretty crazy, but let us know in the comments if you have. And as always, like and subscribe to keep an eye out for content to terrify and delight you. I've been your host, Raechel Fisher, and until next time, please double check your corpses. Take care. Theories go that a previously placed defibrillator. Wow. Theories say that a previously placed defibrillator. The story goes that a previously placed defibrillator. Whoa.